What is the state of play as regards the 1,600 refugees from the Greek islands? That's the first question. You want to answer that already?
Yeah, sure. So what you're referring to is a scheme that we announced on the 6th of March to relocate 1,600 unaccompanied minors from the Greek islands to other member states. And this initiative is something that the coronavirus outbreak made at the same time more urgent and more difficult to carry out because of additional practical problems that the outbreak created. So very, very intense work is ongoing on this initiative. It includes elements such as collecting pledges from member states in order to relocate unaccompanied minors. It's also about defining standard operating procedures that would feed into how this initiative is going to operate, as well as, of course, sorting out all the practicalities such as the identification of the unaccompanied minors who would be covered, selection of people, also things like flights, age assessment, and other issues. So this work really is happening at full speed. Even as we speak, there is a meeting of Commission representatives, IOM, UNHCR, and of course the Greek authorities, which aims to really finalize these standard operating procedures. Now, it also so happens that member states do not have to wait until this work on the standard operating procedures is finished before actually starting to relocate unaccompanied minors, because the Greek authorities have pre-identified a number of unaccompanied minors who would be eligible. So in this respect, we know that the Luxembourgish authorities in particular are really working on relocating them, a group of unaccompanied minors, imminently. However, as I said, the practicalities in the current situation make it a little bit more difficult. So that explains part of the delay that we have.
Okay, thank you. There's a second question. Who are we talking about precisely? On 12 and 13 March, respectively, Commissioner Johansson spoke of at least, in inverted commas, 1,600, and also about unaccompanied minors, again, in inverted commas, as well as of children and other vulnerable groups, again, in inverted commas. So is it 1,600 precisely, or at least 1,600, and which groups of refugees exactly, please?
Sure. So the initiative focuses on unaccompanied minors as the most vulnerable group. And the way it works is it relies on pledges by member states. And so right now we have 1,600 pledges from 8 member states. But of course, as Commissioner Johansson also explained actually last week in the Libe committee, we're working with other member states, and the initiative is open to further pledges. So in that sense, it is at least 1,600.
Okay, thank you very much. Second question from Ana Estela de Sousa Pinto, de Folha de São Paulo. On 6 March, the European Commission announced that together with the Greek government, it would put in place a process to protect unaccompanied migrant children in the Greek islands through voluntary relocation of them to other member states. Can you confirm that the member states which have volunteered to host those children are Finland, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Portugal, Ireland, and Croatia?
I can confirm that with the caveat that one member state is missing, and I believe it is Lithuania. So the full list is Lithuania, Ireland, Portugal, Croatia, Finland, Luxembourg, France, and Germany right this moment.
Okay. Then Anna had other questions which I will read out, but I believe you have already answered them. Have the relocation already started? If so, how many of the approximately 1,500 unaccompanied minors have already been transferred into which countries? When is the relocation expected to be completed? And if it has not started, what is still required for it to be done? Is there a forecast of when it would be possible to start relocations? I think you have answered that, but if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I may maybe just add that we do not necessarily have to wait until all of the unaccompanied minors are ready to be relocated from Greece to other member states to start taking them out of the camps on the islands. And in fact, we've, as also was discussed last week in the Libe committee, we're trying to put in place a scheme whereby they can be urgently accommodated in hotels in the islands, and we've got also some funding that would be available for that. So work can really start very, very quickly.
Okay, thank you very much. Last question from Mose from the Brussels Times. According to last week's briefing, Greece has received billions of euros for migrant management and more funding is planned. Still, not much seems to have happened since the crisis at the Greek-Turkish border. Migrants have not been moved from the overcrowded camps on the islands, and unaccompanied minors have not yet been relocated to other member states. When does the Commission foresee that this will happen, and how does the Commission have a financial report on the use of the EU funding until now?
Yeah, so maybe not to add too much about the issue of relocation of unaccompanied minors and the general issue of reducing the overcrowding in the camps, about which I have spoken. But maybe just to say that we've got pretty extensive information available online on the funding that Greece has received. And also Commissioner Johansson gave quite a lot of detail about the allocation of the additional funding that we have identified for Greece last week in the Libe committee. So I would very much recommend you watch that, Mose, and if it's difficult to access, I'll happily provide you with the links. And as regards financial report on the use of EU funding by Greece, I can say that, of course, all of our funding follows the rules in the financial regulation and in the relevant legislation concerning all the different funds, and we are confident that the funding is put to the right use.
Okay, thank you very much. Now